Okay, this is going to be a very fun one. Happy birthday to my mom, Catherine Carlson Gimbel. And this is a gift for her. I know that I haven't actually made a lot of presentations over the course of April. And by not a lot, I mean none, except for my April Fool's Day joke. I am actually not going to the Pitcairn Islands. And the reason for that is because, well, the reason why how do I put this? The reason why I haven't made a lot of presentations this month is because I've been busy preparing for my appearance at the Polyglot Gathering in Bratislava. And so here's a little quick one that I've owed you since last month: how to relearn a language you've forgotten. This is going to be significantly short, but I hope that it contains a lot of useful information. If you have any questions on this, I can definitely do a sequel. Okay, so in many respects, you don't forget absolutely everything when you forget a language. And so I'm going to go ahead and be vulnerable here. I'm going to list a number of the languages that I really forgot. For one, yeah, a lot of my Mandarin from early 2010 has really slipped away before my big polyglot awakening that happened from 2012 to 2014, by which time it was complete. Also, other ones would include Dutch, both ancient and modern Greek, Russian, some Ukrainian, and Japanese to varying degrees. But the fact is that I still remember a lot of aspects of sentence structure, and I do remember, with the likely exception of Mandarin, exactly how to read them. And the fact is that there are some bicycle skills that really exist, and a language is obviously very much not like a bicycle unless you've had hundreds, not hundreds of thousands of hours, but thousands of hours, definitely. I remember the scholar Samuel Casso said that he learned Yiddish in his childhood, and despite the fact that he really didn't use it, the fact is that his time investment earlier on made it so much so that it was stuck in his brain permanently. And in many respects, the very basic level of a language will never go away. And I think that even some people who have learned significant languages and then forgot them, they would even know significantly basic things. And for example, when I was in Germany, I was running into a lot of people who had for example, one girl who was raised in northern Germany in the Danish-speaking area, moved away from it as a child, spoke fluent Danish as a kid, and then forgot it entirely. And the fact is that when I tried to teach her some phrases, she actually spoke it with a fantastic accent, just like a native. And obviously another textbook example is the Kindertransport, the various Jews that were lifted to the United Kingdom from Germany before Hitler invaded Poland, and when the early stages of the Holocaust were in play. And so a lot of those kids fully forgot usage of the German language entirely, and but I don't really exactly know why that's a case that's significant. I'm not fully qualified to address in all capacities. But meanwhile, for you, this is good news because that basis will still be there. It's just sleeping, and in many respects, you have to wake it up. And I think Richard Simcott compared it to a run-down car that you actually have to start up. And so the fact is that should you choose to relearn a language, you have every imaginable advantage that exists. For one, if you pause language studies for about 3 years and then you go back to it, you're going to find that there are more resources available, more apps, more books, more music, and more localizations, which also is significantly important. No matter what you use to learn a language, you're going to really find more of it. And this is true even if your target language is very highly endangered as well. And so whether you're learning something very popular like French, if you're learning a minor national language like Romanian, or for example, if you're learning an endangered language like Cornish or Hawaiian, then the fact is that the amount of material is just going to grow. And that's good news for you. Yes, there is the understanding that books can possibly go out of print, but many of them do exist for posterity on the web, and this is also the case with the Wayback Machine in terms of websites, for example. So more music, more books, and also you've acquired more learning wisdom since you last learned it as well. And also, if you have knowledge of other languages that you've had before relearning your target language, you'll notice similarities. And so concerning languages like Russian, for example, when I sometimes, ask my Russian friends to try to feed me some phrases, my knowledge of Scandinavian languages, which I didn't have in the early 2010s, the early 2000s to the same degree that I had, that as I do now, that really helps. And so if you have knowledge of other languages that you've had before, relearning your target language, you're going to notice similarities between them. And that means, keep in mind, memory is all really about connections. And effectively there are threads of memory, very weak ones that can be broken, and then if you manage to enforce them with connections, then you'll actually manage to keep them in your mind. So very important places like your address, you associate them with a place, you associate them with a feeling, and that's probably why you won't forget things such as your address and your phone number. Now you just simply need to do that, well, thousands of times, depending on your language. Okay, 4 things you need to be aware of. You will have flashbacks to the time that you learned the language previously. So this is another thing. There are perhaps songs or stimuli that you probably have associated with your studies of your previous language, and you are going to return to them no matter what, because your brain really associates them with a prior time that's sleeping. It's a bit like running into a friend that you haven't run into for 7 years. Also, you'll have vocabulary pop up that you didn't even know was there. And so for the passive vocabulary, this is doubly true. So you're really going to find out that your brain has left you in good hands, which means for you that you're actually in a better place than you think you are, especially concerning passive vocabulary. And if you speak a related language, even distantly, you're going to notice cognates that you didn't notice previously, and you'll notice small things about the language more readily. And so, for example, while you may have been focusing on another language, if it's even distantly related, for example, like Gujarati would be from Norwegian, they're in both Indo-European languages in the same family, then you're really going to notice these similarities accordingly, even if they're very, very small things. And then your own mind's inner workings will surprise you. And so the fact is that you probably, depending on how your mind works, you're really going to have various flashbacks and a lot of things concerning what you might know or might not know. There are a lot more things that you don't know that you know. I hope that makes sense. All right. Overall, you only have advantages in this respect with relearning something, never disadvantages. And so I also want to conclude with this. There's the spaced repetition curve, which is an understanding that in order to maximize memory, you need to review something as soon as you're about to forget it. And in many respects, this can work with languages as a whole, especially on the basic level. So if you really manage to if you really manage to review something shortly afterwards, that could be significantly helpful. Okay, my computer's about to die, so I'm going to have to go ahead and go to the end. So next presentation, we're going to do the now ruined language in the style of Lang Focus channel. Got to conclude this video quickly. Have a good run. See you next time.